Well, right, there's been a lot of confusion over Donald Trump and his legal status and where he stands with these various trials. So I really wanted to get them all in perspective and see whether you can just run out the clock and all of these can be adjudicated until after the election. If that's the case and he's elected, maybe they all go away after the election. Hard to say, but I know John Yoo has some thoughts on this. The former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, UC Berkeley law professor, former law clerk for Justice Thomas. This guy's the real deal. I always love having you on. John, always good to see you. The Supreme Court's move to hear oral arguments on the former president's claim of having immunity from prosecution. If you're not even going to get to oral arguments until then, and this was a case that was supposed to start like soon, you can see it put off quite some time, maybe until after the election, or could you?
President Trump may have successfully here deflected the main threat from all these criminal trials, because the case you're talking about, Neil, is the January 6th case against President Trump for essentially committing insurrection, although the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, didn't charge him with that. As you said, the court has now scheduled arguments for April 22nd, the week of that. That means the decision won't come out till the end of June at the latest, and then I think you get a trial, if you're lucky, starting in August.
So what happened, John? There's a number of other trials. The Atlanta one, you know, with, the whole thing going on with the prosecutor and her relationship with another prosecutor. That's a mess. But that also could see her, Fani Willis, getting thrown out, if not the entire case dropped and starting again. I mean, what does your gut tell you there?
This is an important difference between the federal trial we were just talking about and the Fani Willis Georgia trial. That's a state case. So if Donald Trump can get the actual federal case delayed and then perhaps wins the presidency, he actually has the power to order the Justice Department to drop that prosecution, and that's over. The Georgia case is completely outside President Trump's powers if he should he be president. It's a state case. He can't even pardon himself for it, which he could for a federal case. But that case seems to be imploding. You know, we've talked about the problems that Fani Willis has had. It does seem like there was a conflict of interest now that developed in the development of the indictment. I could easily see that case getting transferred to someone else entirely, a different prosecutor in Georgia. And then why would another DA want this terrible, terrible disaster of a case on his or her hands? I could see them dropping that case, too. Those are the two biggest challenges to President Trump coming out of the criminal justice system, and they both may well disappear.
Now, the Fani case and all that, wasn't there a push by Donald Trump in the beginning to make it a federal case, maybe hinting of what powers he might have as a newly elected president to just wash it away? But they did want that originally, didn't they?
This is really interesting. Jack Smith, the special counsel in D.C., he ended up bringing a strange set of charges. He charged Trump with fraud, which is usually used against contractors with the government. And then he charged Trump with obstructing a congressional proceeding, which is usually used for white-collar crimes, people defying subpoenas and so on. And so people think that what Smith did is he dropped all the stuff Fani Smith took on because he wanted to get to trial fast. He wanted to be clean and quick and before the election. But now with Trump's immunity claim going up to the Supreme Court, it may well be that Smith's strategy didn't work. And so Fani Willis' sprawling investigation, those were all the things that people thought Jack Smith was going to do, but he ended up dropping them in the favor of speed. But I don't think it's going to work for him.
Real quickly, the biggest pressure for Donald Trump right now are these civil cases. He has to put up the $90 million for the E. Jean Carroll case. He has to put up about $4 to $54 million on the Trump business in New York and all that case. But he can go ahead and try to collateralize this to try to get some money or loans if he can find them. So what do you make of that?
I think that damage award has got some serious problems, as we've talked about before, Neil. It doesn't seem this $350 million plus $100 million in interest. It doesn't seem to be linked to any damages that were suffered. I think Trump might have an interesting claim to get to the Supreme Court on that one, too, as an excessive fine. But this requirement that you put $450 million down to have the right to appeal is going to be a real problem for him. And I hope he can find it, just because he does have some rights here that he ought to be allowed to litigate. But on the other hand, who's going to lend him money at this point? The court just said he's a bad person to lend money to. He lies on his applications.
Yeah. You know, John, I want to give you credit, my friend, though, because early on, when these cases were first being thrown, you were picking them apart and what could make them unravel. And sure enough, just a couple that you just mentioned are beginning to unravel on that very issue. So we'll watch it closely. Always good seeing you.